for making prostrations, generally speaking, making prostrations, what is very important is to make sure that your knees are protected. For that matter, see if you can have small cushions underneath your knees. That's very important. And then for those people who like to make prostrations for many times, like 100,000 times and so forth, so they are not only the knees, then even the chest. That part is very important. Chest part, abdomen is fine, but the chest part is very important because of the heart and the lungs there. And then the knees, very important. That there's some protection. The cushion is there because the long run it can be harmful to your knees and to the visceral organs. So therefore, I'm making a point that we hear making prostrations just for about like 5 minutes, just about 5 minutes, which means that we can, as long as the knees are protected, that's fine. Knees must be protected. Don't think that okay, this is purification. No. Once the knee is gone, finish. You cannot do the prostrations anymore in the future. So therefore, always protect the knees. Be very realistic. Never go to the extreme. Extreme meaning, okay, this purification, we have to go through hardship the more. Okay, hardship is fine, but destroying the body is really destructive, really harmful. So whereas hardship in the form of where the bodily parts are not affected or not harmed, then you can go into hardship for purification. If you think that this purification is fine, there's nothing wrong in it. So whereas the knees and so forth, they are extremely important to make sure that you don't unnecessarily damage them. Okay, so always have something to protect the knees. Okay. Setting a proper motivation with 3 points. First, the refuge field. Number 2 is Bodhicitta field. Number 3 is the purpose of the practice. First, the refuge field. What to visualize and how to visualize. Visualize Buddha Shakyamuni, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and all the teachers who are the inspiration of the practice of compassion, unconditional practice of compassion, and the practice of wisdom. And imagine that I will cite some of the Bodhisattas, likewise the Indian great masters, Tibetan great masters, and even if you are not aware of who they are, don't worry, just imagine that eventually, by hearing the names of the great teachers and the saints, we are to later on explore who these great saints are, in what way they are the inspiration for our practice of compassion, practice of the wisdom of emptiness. Visualize Buddha Shakyamuni's Holiness the Dalai Lama surrounded by Bodhisattva Aravalokiteshvara, Arya Manjushri, the Arya Vajrapani, Arya Samadbhadra, Arya Krishidagarbha, then Arya Nagarjuna, Arya Deva, Buddha Palita, Acharya Nagabodhi, Vishnu Chandrakirti, Bodhisattva Shani Deva, Bodhisattva Shani Rakshita, Acharya Kamalashil, then the Lama Salingpa, Lama Atishadipa Shri Gyana, Guru Padmasambhava, Sajin Kungayungbo, Sakya Pandita, Great Saint Tilopa, the Grace Naropa, Jesu Marpa, Jesu Mela, Tapolaje, Lama Sungapa, Gelsa Rinpoche, Ketu Rinpoche. And how you visualize them, that plays a very important role. You visualize them like your very affectionate parents. And imagine you come home from the school where the elder children at the school, they bullied you and you're so demoralized, you're so sad. You come home and your parents are waiting there to give full love, affection, attention, and embrace. This is exactly how the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they are taking care of us. It's a matter of our own karmic connection. It's a matter of our own purification of the karma that determines whether we see them in that form or not. The reality is that no matter what your attitude is, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they are like very affectionate parents who are there just to embrace you with total love, affection, and everything. And visualize your two parents on two sides for the Bodhicitta field. They are all family members, including children, and all sentient beings here in this campus. The insects, the animals, the cats and dogs, then the spirits, the hungry ghosts, hell beings, god and goddesses, all these beings in this campus, and all such beings in France, in the entire France, in the entire world, in the entire Milky Way galaxy, and in the entire universe. Again, how you visualize them makes a big difference. Here, you are the mother, and all other salaried children. And you are getting because you are getting the opportunity to study, to practice, to reflect on these very precious points of compassion and abysmal emptiness, which others are deprived of. So they become like the small children, and you are with incredible love and affection. You visualize seeing them in the light of great affection. The way the mother sees her child, so the vulnerable, the sick, and the weak. And the purpose of this practice, the morning practice, is finally to awaken the seed of perfection that exists within each one of us. The seed of perfection, which is like the solid diamond, it is within each one of us, the treasure, ultimate treasure of happiness. The fact that we don't experience this is all because not because it is non-existent, but because that is obscured by the metal defilements. Just as gold, when mixed with the soil, we don't see the glow of the gold. It is only after removing the soil that the gold inside will start to glow. Likewise, each one of us, no matter who you are, whether you are male, female, educated, uneducated, or French or non-French, we all have this potential, whether you're Buddhists or Muslims or Christians or Jains or non-believers, we all have this equal potential. It's just a matter of whether or not you are convinced with this, whether or not you are able to identify and then unfold it, discover it. The moment you discover that, you see that you are so precious as the Buddha Shakyamuni, to benefit all sentient beings, and you are truly freed of all fears of life. And you have the infinite happiness to embrace all demon sentient beings equally. And of course, because the mental defilements, they are like chronic. They are chronic since time immemorial till now. It is not easy to get rid of them. For that matter, we need to delve into practice, into, say, the hard work, to first of all identify what they are, and then get rid of them eventually. So with that in mind, let's turn to page 3, and you are leading this You are leading this, and all sentient beings are joining us in this practice. And tears with great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views, to you the Buddha of Dharma I pay homage. And tears with great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views, to you the Buddha of Dharma I pay homage. And tears by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views, to you the Buddha of Dharma I pay homage. Okay, as we recite these lines, there are three ways of reciting. This. One is when of course, all of us who come here, and no doubt we have a deep sense of, commitment towards practice and the yearning to learn, yearning to practice. So this is there, the motivation is there. Meanwhile, how you recite these things, there are three ways of reciting it, some of which are not as beneficial, some of which are so beneficial. Number one is you recite it where the words flow, but the meanings do not flow, and let alone experience. This is one way of reciting it. Number two, recitation is where the words flow and the meanings flow. This is number two. Then number three is where the words flow, meanings flow, and the experience flow. Experience also flows. 3. And for us, in the beginning, we cannot really expect the third one, experiencing flowing. It most likely will not happen. It will happen only after learning what the Bodhicitta is, what the wisdom and emptiness is, and through prolonged, extended the practice, you can gradually feel it. It's not something that, oh, I like to have the experience also, and then you recite it and the experience flows. It doesn't happen. At least for the time being, what can happen is the words and the meanings, not only the words, but the meanings flowing. We can make that happen. Okay, so for that matter, we have to put a little bit of effort to try to see what it means. The words, just focus on the meanings, and the meanings will be flowing. And as the meanings flow, you can see that the difference between only the words flowing and the meanings flowing along with the words, that the difference is that at the end of the practice, you feel a sense of the accomplishment. Oh yes, today is very meaningful, number one. Number two, you feel a little tired because so much energy is consumed when the meanings are reflected. Then for those who the experience flows, not only the meanings and the words, then the energy consumption is so much, and yet you will feel a sense of a great, very profound sense of accomplishment. Okay, this is what we need to keep in mind. 3 ways of reading any text. Okay, with that in mind, let's recite together. Sanye Joda Zoge Jonam La Janju Bandu Danye Gyabzo Ji Lage Jinzo Gebe Sonam Ge Dola Vengi Sangye Dubai Sho Sanye Joda Zoge Jonam La Janju Bandu Danye Gyabzo Ji Lage Jinzo Gebe Sonam Ge Dola Vengi Sangye Dubai Sho Sanye Jodan Zoge Jonam Chanjo Bado Dane Gyabzo Ji Lage Junzo Gebe Sonam Ge Dola Vengi Sangye Dubai Sho. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, by my accumulations and practice of giving and so forth. May I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, by my accumulations of practice of giving and so forth. May I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, by my accumulations of practice of giving and so forth. May I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Independent origination, there is no ceasing, no arising, no annihilation, no permanence, no coming, no going, no separateness, and no sameness. I prostrate to the consummate Buddha, the supreme among all teachers, the one who speaks, which is the Greek of liberation.
I prostrate to the mothers of all the hearers, the Bodhisattas and the Buddhas, who through the knowledge of all these hearers seeking pacification, complete peace, who through the knowledge of paths, courses, souls, heaven, migrations, achieve the aims of the world, and who through the possession of omniscience have subdued us, expound a variety of teachings. The one who has transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by ultimate to benefit sentient beings. The teacher is survivor and protector to you of my prostrations. The one who has eliminated the web of conceptualizations and is entirely the divine bodies of the vast and the profound, who eternally shines forth the forever noble light rays, to you the Buddha of my prostrations. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today the Buddha's presence, I command a full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava Hetum Desham Dadhagato Yavata Desham Chayo Nirodham Evam Bhati Mahashramanaye Svaha. Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava Hetum Desham Tathagato Yavata Desham Chayo Nirodham Evam Bhati Mahashramanaye Svaha. Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava Hetum Desham Tathagato Yavata Desham Chayo Nirodham Evam Bhati Mahashramanaye Svaha. All phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata, the cessation of causes as well as taught by the great seer. Profound, peaceful, elaboration-free, clear light and non-composite. Such is the natural life Dharma discovered. Finding no one who can fathom this teaching, in silence I will tire in the words. Beyond utterance, thought and expression is the professional wisdom, which unborn, unceasing has the nature of space, is also the apprehension of self-realized wisdom. You, the mother of the Buddhas of the three times, are the obeisance. All composite things are impermanent. All contaminated things are of the nature of suffering. All phenomena are of the nature of selflessness. Transcendent sorrow is peace. The Guru is the Buddha, the Guru is the Dharma, likewise the Guru is the Sangha. The Guru is the source of everything wholesome. I go for appreciating the Guru. By the sound and vibrant drum of Dharma, you liberate all beings of miseries. I beseech you to kindly remain and keep teachings until the end of expanded billions of aeons. The Buddha does not watch the negativity of his beings, nor does he remove their miseries by his hands. His spiritual realizations are not transferred to them. It is by teaching the truth of the substance that the beings are liberated. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all the world and miseries gloom. If you are attached to this life, you are not a spiritual practitioner. If you are attached to samsara, you have no renunciation. If you are attached to your own self-interest, you have no bodhicitta. If there is grasping, you do not have the view. Okay, page 14, praise to Shakyamuni Buddha. Page 14, praise to Shakyamuni Buddha. Precisely when we read praises or the eulogies to the Buddhas and Bodhisattas, just keep in mind that it is not to please them. It is not to please them. The purpose is that only if we praise them, then they will be happy, they will grant us with blessings. This is not the case. Whether we praise them or not, or for them there's no difference, they love you unconditionally. But why we engage in praising the Buddhas and Bodhisattas is for the reason that as we praise the Buddhas and Bodhisattas, in these praises, the great enlightened beings, they indicated various qualities on the basis of which the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they have been praised, the qualities which make the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas very special. And what are these qualities? In the first place, see the qualities indicated there. If these qualities, some of these qualities are reflected in your own mind, if you have these qualities, some of these qualities, if you have, feel the joy over having these qualities and see how you can nurture them further, number one. Number two, if you don't have these qualities, then instead of feeling demoralized, realize that I too have these qualities in the form of seeds, although not in a manifest form, but in the form of seeds. These are the qualities that I need to work on, to activate, so that I myself, my true nature will come out, and that I'll be free from all the miseries which I shun, and all the happiness which I embrace or which I seek. So with this in mind, and then knowing that these are the qualities through which I have to progress along the path, Gate, Paragate, Parasangate, Bodhiswaha. So we need to put effort to cultivate these qualities within yourself, and once cultivated, see how to nurture them further. So this is the whole point. With that in mind, let's recite. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one born beyond, the four destroyer, completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, never the world, supreme God of human beings to be tamed, future gods and human beings, to you the complete and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shankar camp, I pray for friends and go for refuge. When, O Supreme amongst humans, you were born on this earth, your face of seven stripes, and said, I am supreme in this world, to you who are wise and not prostrate. With pure body, formed supremely pure, crystal ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazed in three worlds, you know the best, Lord, to you are prostrate. With the supreme science, face like a spotless moon, color like gold, to you are prostrate. Justly like you, the three worlds are not, incomparable wise one, to you are prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit, the qualities that are vast ocean, to you that the Bhagavata prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from lower realms, one path, the sublime pure reality, to the Dhamma that classifies as prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show the path to liberation, qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you the Sangha are prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue mind thoroughly, this is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, the conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the four faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. Yes, Heart Sutra, page 29. Heart Sutra. Okay, let's not miss to remember the 3 points. 1, the question asked by Shariputra Avalokiteshvara. Number 2, the response given by Avalokiteshvara to Shariputra. And number 3, what's the benefit if we practice as indicated by Avalokiteshvara, that everything is like a dream. In other words, what's the benefit if we wake up from the sleep of ignorance? Okay. I prostrate to the Triple Gem. Thus did I hear at one time, the Buddha was dwelling on the Master Vajra's mountain in Rajgriha, together with a great community of monks and a great community of Bodhisattvas. At that time, the Buddha was absorbed in concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound illumination. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Master Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of the profound illumination of wisdom and beheld those 5 entities also as entered in nature. Then to recall the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra, said this to the Bodhisattva Master Avalokiteshvara: how should any child of the lineage who wishes to practice their activity of profound perfection wisdom train? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Master Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra: Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage, able to profound professional wisdom, should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly, beholding those 5 ingredients also as empty inherent nature. Form is empty, empty is form. Empty is not other than form, form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, composite factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are empty, without characteristic, unproduced, unseen, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no composite factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no picture, touch, and no phenomenon. There is no I element and so on, up to and including no mind element or no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation part, there is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, Bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the professional wisdom, the mind without obscuration, thus without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, there is the endpoint of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the 3 times also manifestly completely awakened, unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment, relies on the professional wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the professional wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, unsurpassed mantra, mantra equal to non-equal, the mantra that totally has. The mantra of the professional wisdom is declared, Yata Om Gade Gade Para Gade Para Sangade Gode Swaha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva should train in the profound professional wisdom like that. And the Buddha arose from that concentration and commanded the Bodhisattva Mahasattva out of the Bodhicittas, saying, well said, son of the lineage, it is like that, it is like that. One should practice with profound professional wisdom, just as you indicated. Even the Tathagatas rejoiced. The Buddha having thus spoken, the Venerable Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva out of the Bodhicittas, who was surrounding the entirety along with the world of gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised as spoken by the Buddha. Okay, that's one side, it's the Chinese. By the teachings of the three supreme jewels possessing the power of truth, may in and out of humans be transformed, may they be dispelled, may they be non-existent, may they be pacified, may all negative forces opposed to Dharma be completely pacified, may the hosts of 80,000 souls be pacified, may we be separated from problems and conditions harmful to the Dharma, may all enjoyments be in accordance with the Dharma, may auspicious and perfect happiness prevail this place now. Okay, the next is the 8th verse of my training. 8th verse of my training is primarily for yesterday we talked about the 2 sides, the 2 wings for somebody to traverse along the path of enlightenment. The one is the wing of the wisdom, and the other is the wing of compassion. And the Heart Sutra, and then the engaging in the studies, reflection, and meditation of the Buddha's teachings, one should be able to see through the rationality behind whatever we do. For example, we emphasize so much on the wisdom of compassion. For example, the first stanza which we read this morning, enthused by great compassion, you taught immaculate dharma. Enthused by great compassion, that is compassion. And you taught immaculate dharma. This is the dharma of the wisdom of emptiness, wisdom, to dispel the perverted views, to Yuddha Buddha Dharma and make prostration. So this is said by Aranyagārjuna. So we see that the tremendous emphasis is placed on compassion and the wisdom. Finally, if somebody is to ask you what is the essence of the Buddha's teaching, you can say the emphasis, the practice, teaching and practice of unconditional love on the ground of the wisdom to see the interdependency of each other. So these two are the main emphasis. And later on, eventually we should be able to identify, we should be able to know exactly so why these two are so important. If any of these two things missing, the path is incomplete. Where you have these two things intact, wherever you go, you are intact with the teaching of the Buddha. So 8 verses of mind training here. Before this we read the Heart Sutra. That is meant for the wisdom. And of course for the wisdom, it is not only Heart Sutra. There are so many sutras there. There are so many teachings on emptiness, wisdom of emptiness. This is symbolic to tell us that every morning we should be reminded of these two practices as the quintessential of the Buddha's teachings. Then 8th verse of mind training is to activate a compassion. The counterforce of compassion is anger, ego, and 8 verses will teach us how to subdue the ego. Meanwhile, we need to make a distinction between the two things. The inner mind, finally, when we are happy, is also because is a mental state, and then when we are unhappy, is also a mental state. And these two mental states, these are very opposite. These two are the opposites. One, we like to have it. The other, we don't like to have it. While these two are opposites, these both are mental states. So because these two are the resultant states, by the stanza which we already read, Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava, all these phenomena arise from causes. Happiness also arises from causes. Misery also arises from causes. So what are these causes? There are so many various versions and the nuances and the insights into what these causes are. One way by which to classify these causes in a very simplistic way is all these miseries, somehow they are rooted to the self-referential ego. And the happiness, somehow they are related to the self-confidence. So this 8 verse mind training will teach us how to, in the first place, to segregate the two, self-referential ego and the self-confidence, and then undermine the self-referential ego and boost self-confidence. So, say, there are so many ways of classifying the evolved beings from the ordinary beings. One way by which to classify is on the basis of these 8 verses. Those beings who will equate the two, ego and self-confidence, equate the two and lead their life on the basic principle of equating these two, the thought processes that is known as ordinary being. Say the self-confidence is there, ego is equally very high. And the ego is not there, self-confidence also goes down. So this is how the ordinary people looks at things. Whereas the evolved beings, they see it very differently. They will undermine the self-referential ego and they will boost the self-confidence. So this is what we are meant to do. If we're able to do that, the more we're able to do that, then the more we are into the spiritual path. Okay, with that in mind, let's recite from 8 verses of mind training. With the determination to achieve the highest aim for the benefit of all sentient beings, which surpasses even the wishful fringent in whole days or times. Whenever I interact with someone, I view myself as a lowly summoned soul, and from the very depth of my heart respectfully hold others as superior. In all my deeds may I broaden my mind, and as soon as mental and emotional afflictions arise, as they endanger myself and others, I strongly confront them and avert them. When I see these unpleasant character and oppress the hold them dear for their rare fun, and so I discover their true treasure. When others out of jealousy treat me wrong with abuse, slander, and scorn, may I take upon myself the defeat and offer to others the victory. When someone whom I have held or in whom I have placed great hopes, extend for hurtful ways, may I regard them still as my precious teacher. In brief, may I offer benefit and joy to all my mothers, both directly and indirectly, and quietly take upon myself all hurts and pains from my mothers. May all this remain undefiled by the sins of the 8 mundane concerns, and may I recognize in all things as illusions, devoid to clinging be released from bondage. From my 2 collections, vast space that I have amassed, working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the key-leading Buddha for all those whose minds wisdom eyes blinded with ignorance. And reading 8 verses, we come to see that there are points where we tend to undermine ourselves, we take the defeat, we give the victory to others and so forth, and then I say those who abuse us with jealousy, scorn and so forth, we are to take them as our teachers and so forth. These are not some people, they see these teachings as so the self-denial, and this is not. This is just to undermine our ego, undermine our anger, agitation, and then meanwhile to boost our self-confidence. So many people, when they read this, they go to one extreme of self-denial. The Buddhism means, okay, we should be poor, we should be weak, we should always take the defeat, we should, let others have the victory, suffer yourself. This is what many people think Buddhism is. This is a total misconception. The idea is never ever have a sense of self-hate. Never ever go for self-denial. This self, you, each one of us, you are so precious. Then why in 8 verse mind training you always take the defeat and give the good things to others? It's not for any other reason. Eventually, it is for your own happiness. Finally, if Buddhism is to take away your happiness, don't go for Buddhism. Because you came to Buddhism not saying that I have so much of happiness, Buddhism, please teach me how to get into my happiness. This is not how you came to Buddhism. I have so much suffering, please teach me how to get rid of suffering. If the Buddhism cannot fulfill this aspiration, to get rid of your suffering, to give you more happiness, there's no point. The whole purpose is to get rid of suffering and acquire more happiness. And yet, this teaching, on the contrary, what happens is that as we crave for the happiness, as we become so angry towards the suffering, the manifest suffering, then what we tend to do is that these are all driven by the ego. So ego is the one which actually attracts all the suffering and which pushes away all the happiness. The 8 verse 1 training is teaching us how to subdue the ego. Don't compromise your happiness. Don't compromise yourself. This self is so precious. Simply get rid of the ego. Get rid of the ego, and then you will see that all the miseries automatically subside and all the happiness dawn in you. So this is the purpose. So what happens is that as the ego subsides, then the anger, the pace of the anger subsides. More the ego stays, very small things can easily trigger anger within us. And with the anger, the outcome is the unpleasant feelings within you, agitation, irritation. Nobody wants that. So with this, these 8 verses of mantra teaches us how to get rid of the ego and thereby undermine the anger. When the anger subsides, automatically leaves room for compassion. When compassion arises, automatically the feeling is so confident and the feeling is so pleasant and very confident. So this is finally what we want is we want confidence, we want peace, we want pleasant feeling and so forth. These are all attracted by compassion. Okay, so it's for this reason that the eight-verse training is of benefit, not for self-denial, but for boosting your happiness and boosting your self-confidence. Okay, now we turn to the next page, 7-limb puja or 7 practice, page 34. Again, a quick reminder, this is a means to enrich the factors that help us to pursue a journey of enlightenment. The wisdom means to purify your mental defilements. Wisdom means to energize your mind with a tremendous merit accumulation. I bow down to the youthful Aram and Jishri. You lions amongst humans, gone to freedom in the present, past and future. In the words of 10 directions, to all of you with body, speech and sincere mind, I bow down. With the energy or aspiration for the Bodhisattva way, with a sense of deep respect, and with as many bodies as atoms of the world, to all you Buddhas visualized as real, I bow down. On every atom of Buddhas, numberless as atoms, each atom is a host of Bodhisattvas. I am confident the spirit of all phenomena is entirely filled with the Buddhas in this way. With the infinite oceans of praise for you, and the oceans sound from the aspect of my voice, I sing the breathtaking excellence of Buddhas and celebrate all of you Sugandhas. Beautiful flowers in little gardens, sweet music scented oils and parasols, sparkling lights and sublime incense, offered to you victorious ones, the Buddhas. Fine dressed in fragrant perfume, sandalwood powder heat high as Mount Meru. All one's offerings in spectacular array offered to you victorious ones. To advance into the offerings fearless and vast, with profound admiration for all the Buddhas, with strength of conviction in the Bodhisattva way, offer and bow down to all victorious ones. With every harmful action I have done, with my body, speech and mind, overwhelmed by attachment, anger and confusion, all these are openly laid bare before you. I lift my heart and rejoice in all the merit of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in 10 directions, of solitary realizers here still training and those beyond, and of all ordinary beings. You who are the bright lights of worlds in 10 directions, who have attained the Buddha's omniscience through the stages of awakening, all you who are my guides, please turn the supreme will of Dharma. Together I earnestly request you who may actualize Parinirvana, please stay with us for eons, numberless as atoms in the world, for the happiness and well-being of all wanderers in samsara. Whatever slight merit I may have accumulated by making prostrations, offering and confessing, rejoicing and requesting that the Buddha's same teach, I now dedicate all these for the full awakening of all beings. Okay, mental offering. This ground anointed with perfumes, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the 4 continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this is a Buddha filled and offering, and all sentient beings enjoy this pure land. Okay, so the some of you may not be knowing the hand gesture. This hand gesture, if you don't know that this is not really mandatory, but if you learn it, it's also good. This hand gesture is just a symbolic of the universe. We see that in the center, the 2 ring fingers put together and then protruding, that is symbolic of the Mount Meru. And then on 4 sides, we see that there's a cross, the 4 sides, indicating the 4 continents, and then the 8 subcontinents. In other words, this is symbolic of the universe. And whether or not the Mount Meru and the Mount Meru such things exist, not exist, this is not the point. The point is, it's just a symbolism, a symbolic of offering everything good that you can think of in this universe. Even the clean air, the fresh air, the very special space, the flowers, anything good that you can think of this universe, you're offering this to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Okay. We'll say the Tibetan together. O Sashibhage Geshe Next, the two requests that you're making to all Bodhisattvas pertaining to your Dharma practice. These are very important points. The first set of the four, they came from the most venerable Kapapa, the student of Jesus Milarepa, and then the next four coming from my teacher, Venerable Geshe Damdul. So this I put so basically essence came from my teacher, and then I put it in the slightly, not in a different way, with proper little bit of the formatting. So this coming from primarily from my teacher, Venerable Geshe Damdul. So these two are very powerful, and these will tell us the first one is to direct our mind more towards the Dharma without any distraction, and second one is a summary of all the teachings of the Buddha. The second set of the request. Okay, with that, let's recite together. May I be blessed that my mind is directed towards the Dharma. May I be blessed that my Dharma practices on the proper path. May I be blessed that the path is free of flaws. May I be blessed that the flaws are seen in the light of the exalted wisdom. Becoming frustrated with ignorance that grasps the true existence, please bless me to generate genuine renunciation, seeing all aspects of samsara as vicious and repulsive. Please bless me that my mind overflows with the precious Bodhicittas. Please bless me to have an immaculate experience of the wisdom of emptiness that does not see even an atom of intrinsic reality, on the basis of understanding how things come into being by dependent origination through mere conditioning. Please bless me that my mind stream overflows with the precious wisdom of non-duality of bliss and emptiness. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniratneyami. Okay, as we said the last line, Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniratneyami. The idea is that whatever we have offered to all the Bodhisattvas, we dismantle this gesture of the mantra towards you. We dismantle this in the form of receiving this mantala in the form of blessings from all the Bodhisattvas, and the best spot where to receive the blessings is your heart chakra. It's at your heart. This is where the true nature of your mind resides, the pure nature of mind resides, the Buddha nature resides there. So we receive them in the form of blessings to activate this seed of the Buddha nature fully, that you become Buddha the way the Buddha Shakyamuni they became Buddha. Okay, next, the foundation of all good qualities. This is a whole path, this is a complete path. The foundation of all good qualities is a kind of perfect pure Guru. Correct devotion to him is the root of the path. By clearly seeing this and applying great effort, please bless me to rely upon him with great respect. Understanding that the precious freedom of peaceful birth is found only once, is greatly meaningful and is difficult to find again. Please bless me to generate a mind that unceasingly meditates its essence. This life is as incumbent as a water bubble. Remember how quickly decades and death comes. After that, just like a shadow follows the body, the results of virtues and non-virtues come and follow. Finding firm and definite conviction in this, please bless me always to be careful to abandon even the slightest negativities and accomplish all virtuous deeds. Samsaric splendors are unsatisfying and unreliable. Seeking them to draw for all suffering. Recognizing these shortcomings, please bless me to generate a strong wish for the blissful liberation. Led by this pure thought, mindfulness, alertness, and great question arise. The root of the teachings teaching present motion vows, please bless me to accomplish this essential practice. Just as I fall into the sea of samsara, so I fall mother my creature being. Please bless me to see this training supreme bodhicitta and bear the responsibility for my creature being. Even if I develop bodhicitta, but as I practice 3 types of morality, I nourish the enlightenment. With my clear recognition of this, please bless me to practice the bodhisattva vows with great energy. Once I pacify distractions or objects and correctly analyze the meaning of reality, quickly become a monastery, the unified part of the Karma balance, special insight. Having become a pure vessel by training general path, please bless me to enter the holy gateway of the fortunate ones, the supreme Vajra vehicle. At that time, the basis of accomplishing the true attainments is keeping pure vows and samaya. As I become firmly convinced of this, please bless me to protect these vows and precious like my life. Then, having realized the importance of the 2 stages, essence of Vajrayana, by practicing with great energy, never giving up the 4 sessions, please bless me to realize the teachings of the Holy Guru. Like that, may the Gurus who show the noble path and spiritual friends who practice a long life, please bless me to pacify completely all outer inner hindrances. In all my lives, never separate from perfect Gurus, I enjoy the magnificent Dharma by completing the qualities of the stations in the past, and I could attain the state of Vajradhara. Okay, we'll say this mantra, mix them up, the mantra of Lama Tsongkhapa. First, I'll quickly explain this mantra. This mantra is the praise to Lama Tsongkhapa by seeing him in the light of the 3 perfect qualities. 3 perfect qualities of the Buddha, the perfect quality of the wisdom of all the Buddhas manifested in the form of Aramajishri. The perfect qualities of compassion of all the Buddhas manifested in the form of Aravidukeshvara. Then the perfect qualities of power manifest by the Vajrapani, and so these 3 embodiments, the Bodhisattvas, are the on one side, Lama Tsongkhapa is equated to these 3 Bodhisattvas. So the original story has it that this was initially written by Lama Tsongkhapa himself, written as a praise to his own teacher, not to himself. So the lines are very different. Original version. This is the original version which he composed for his teacher. And the teacher read it, and the teacher said that he erased his own name. His name he erased and replaced that with Lama Tsongkhapa's name, saying that this praise, instead of me, it suits better with you. Then it became so blessed, originally composed by Lama Tsongkhapa, and then for his teacher, and the teacher gave it back to him by replacing the name with Lama Tsongkhapa's name, and then from then onwards, this praise, this stanza, mantra came to be recited all over Tibet, so blessed. Okay, this is what we're going to recite 3 times together. First we'll say this in English, followed by the recitation in Tibetan. You are Avalokiteshvara, great treasure of compassion, not the end of true existence, and Majishri, master of flawless wisdom, and destroyer of roses demons without exception. Tsongkhapa, crown jewel of the sage of ladder snows, thoughts on Java, and you feel every frustrations. Yeah. 1849. I dedicated merit thus gathered towards the realization that these their prayers, both for the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas for the 3 times, and to the holding doctrine of scripture and insight, may I now all lives through the force of this merit, never separate from the full use of the mind of evil, and accomplish all the stages of the path, renunciation, bodhicitta, perfect with the true stages. For my true collections, vast space that I have emerged, from working without fear at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the Shiva living Buddha for all those whose minds crystallize by awakeness. Okay, we make 3 positions.